Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. Oh my goodness, so much news coming out today. I have a lot to talk about, so buckle up. Biggest piece of news that was dropped just yesterday was this. Judge Torres did deny the SEC's motion to seal the Hinman documents. And guys, as a result, you guys can see here from Whale Wire on Twitter, he posted a chart of the XRP price. We did see a price surge since yesterday, though. Late last night, yesterday, we did see the price decline. So we did, in fact, see that FOMO pump. I don't know if you guys got in on a day trade on this. I mean, I'm not huge on day trading, but XRP did go up about 9%, 9.5% over a few hour span yesterday, and then came right back down to about 44.4. So we started off yesterday evening at about 42.2, and now we're trading at about 44.4, so just over 2 cents. I don't know if this is going to continue to move downward, but guys, when we zoom out here, take a look at this. When we zoom out, look at what this actually created. Getting out of this sideways movement, this chopping sideways that we've been seeing since about May 8th. Okay, I guess I should say this is XRP on the hour. We did actually make it back up to these levels right up here based on this news and this news alone. We have not been able to maintain that level of resistance. Nevertheless, we are still slowing down. So don't know if there are, let's zoom out a little further here just to see where we could possibly see some basing. What I'm looking at is over here, guys, from April, late April. We did see that level of support, and then it did wick down in here again a few days later. So who knows if that might be, a signal maybe. I think the XRP trend, though, at this point, looking to the upside. We've seen way too much downward momentum over the last, since the bear market began back in late 2021. And, it's only been positive news from here. We're close, very close to a verdict. As you guys can see, compared to the rest of the market, like Bitcoin, for example, let me throw that on the hourly. You guys can see, other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin did not move. Compare that to XRP, and we did see a 10% move. I'm curious to see, I didn't actually check this out yet, but so we're checking this out together here. XLM. We did see a bit of a movement for XLM, but not by much, not compared to what we saw for XRP. Bringing up Algorand. Algorand has just been making a steady move to the upside, so nothing dramatic really, nothing isolated like we saw with XRP either. Algorand was one of those coins that was named by the SEC that is also currently in a court case, in the BITRUE court case. So guys, here is what happened. James K. Filan breaking the news yesterday afternoon. Judge Torres denies the SEC's motion to seal the Hinman documents. So in other words, we are going to get to see what was in those Hinman documents. Just going to read you guys a little bit of this. Plaintiff, the SEC, moves to seal certain portions of the parties' filings in connection with their cross motions for summary judgment. The SEC states that its proposed redactions are necessary to preserve higher values and are narrowly tailored, to achieve that aim. Defendants Ripple Labs, Brad Garlinghouse, and Chris Larson also moved to seal certain portions of the summary judgment material. Defendants state that their proposed redactions are reasonable, narrowly tailored to protect highly confidential business information and the legitimate privacy interests of third parties, and consistent with redaction requests that the court has granted in previous orders. And then the redactions are listed down in this document here. So it is an 18-page document. For those of you guys who are interested in reading the full thing, I will link this in the description, although I'm sure you can find James K. Filan on Twitter. He has been blowing up on Twitter, over 9,000 likes. And almost reaching 10,000. The XRP community has been waiting for this for a while now. Yoda down here saying the SEC wants you to think that it cares about disclosure, transparency, and clarity. Don't believe them. When the truth eventually comes out, the shamefulness of their behavior here will shock you. Echoing a Brad Garlinghouse statement from a few months ago, well, Brad did come out yesterday too. Another win for transparency. Unredacted Hinman emails to be publicly available soon. Stay tuned as the lawyers work through the mechanics to make that happen. So guys, the lawyers, Ripple's legal team, currently working to make that happen. Johnny down here saying SEC going to settle faster than XRP. I don't know, maybe, let's hope so. Fred Rispoli also did make a comment on that, which I'm going to be getting to in a bit. But let's take a look at, what else is going on here. People congratulating Ripple, congratulating Brad Garlinghouse. Everybody in the XRP community very, very happy about what we witnessed yesterday. Ashley Prosper here coming out on Twitter saying Ripple is getting ready to make the Hinman emails public. No doubt a tactical move to force the SEC to the table if they don't want their corrupt dealings exposed. So Now the question becomes, what is the next move? Now that the SEC has lost this bargaining chip, what is going to happen next? What is their move? Obviously, this makes them weaker in their case because they have less to work with now. So what are they going to do? On the other hand, she says, if Ripple is anticipating a straight-out win, then the SEC really has no hand to play. What will they say? We won't appeal if you settle. Appealing only risks having a binding precedent set against them. And we know the Supreme Court has been spanking Gary and the SEC repeatedly in recent cases. Gary Gensler, what are you going to do? Choices. Agent Smith down here saying, time to inflict max pain and get as many pounds of flesh as possible. Ticket to the moon, in my opinion. Stakeholders would love a settlement right now. That puts Ripple far ahead of all other players on the field with no clarity for anyone else. So, the next moves are going to be critical, I think. Like Ticket to the Moon here says, this puts Ripple so much further ahead, and I mean, they were already further ahead considering they were the first ones to really be sued at the end of 2020. So, we're hearing about these lawsuits coming down the pipe now. The SEC trying to sue everybody under the sun with regards to the crypto market. All these crypto companies now getting Wells notices. Coinbase is another one. So this puts Ripple well ahead of the game. And so what the SEC decides to do now is going to be really important. And I agree. I mean, everybody would love a settlement right now. Wrath of Kahneman bringing this to our attention. As for Ripple, the judge was lenient, sealing 3 parties' names and info. Sadly, though, including ODL info. So I guess I should go over some of the final decisions. Let me just go down here in this document and look at the conclusion here. Okay, so guys, here's the conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, the SEC's motion is granted and in part denied, and the defendant's motion is granted in part and also denied in part, and the non-parties' motions are granted in part and denied in part. So basically granting some motions, denying other motions for both parties. Here's the nuts and bolts, though. Here are the details. The SEC's motion to seal is denied as to the Hinman speech documents and granted as to the remainder of their requests. So denied. So the Hinman speech, that was the big one for us. We now get to see all those Hinman speech documents, but they were granted the motion to seal for other documents. In terms of Ripple defendants, their motion to seal is denied as to references linking Ripple's revenues with XRP sales, the amount of compensation that Ripple offered to trading platforms to list XRP, and the amount of Ripple's XRP sales targeted as investors through programmatic and institutional sales, and as to the names GSR, Bitstamp, Coil Technologies, etc. So that's what Wrath of Kahneman was talking about. The XRP Ledger Foundation and the platforms that publicly made XRP available for trading, and granted as to the remainder of their requests. And so as per the third parties, cryptocurrency exchanges' motion to redact their identity and the names of public cryptocurrency trading platforms are denied. But Layton's motion to intervene is denied as moot, and the remainder of the third party's motions are granted. So again, I will link this in the description if you guys want to read the full thing, but that is the nuts and bolts. Back to the Wrath of Kahneman tweet, in terms of the judge was lenient, sealing third-party names and info, so sadly including ODL, compensation of listing XRP. So although Ripple wanted that stuff sealed, the judge is saying, no, we're going to allow that to go through. Allowing Coil to proceed is funny since it is now defunct. I know, that's kind of strange. But I guess, just to kind of get a sense of where Ripple's head was at that time, or, company decision making, where it was going at that time. Curious to examine XRPL mentions. So, I mean, there was a lot going on yesterday. I was on Twitter yesterday afternoon before this announcement, and, I thought I was going to take this video in a different angle. When I was planning yesterday, Mike Mack here on Twitter posted this, and I thought this was worth mentioning regardless. So, with regards to that leaked memo, the Democrats want crypto to be securities. He was postulating this, okay, if Judge Torres rules first that XRP isn't a security and this bill passes, does XRP become unique? So that's another avenue, and I'm sure Judge Torres is thinking about that very, very carefully. If the bill passes first, would Torres be forced to consider it before ruling? So, this is all happening in real time, guys, and this was dropped. I believe he posted this before this came out. So, this kind of changes the game now. Yassine Mubarak responding, a bill categorizing almost all cryptocurrencies as securities is a non-starter for many Republicans, so something like this will never pass in the current Congress. A new Congress won't take office until January 2025, so the Ripple judgment will come first, and XRP will have clarity way before this bill is even debated. And more so now than ever are we, coming to the conclusion that XRP is going to get clarity way before January 2025. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I will be shocked if something like this ever passes and becomes law, to be honest. And so there's that perspective as well. But back to the Hinman emails, Bill Morgan here posting this. Overall, I think the decision bodes well for Ripple on the summary judgment motion. So now we've got to ask ourselves, what does this mean? Because, in part, some of the SEC's motions were granted, but some were denied. But also for the defendants, Ripple, some were granted and some were denied. Overall, though, bullish. Everybody's bullish on this. The legal XRP community also very bullish. As we know, Bill Morgan is a lawyer from Australia who's been one of those XRP community lawyers that has been following this. Mark Fagel down here also saying, it certainly seems unlikely the court would be making more documents available if planning to grant the SEC's motion. So we're finding out little clues here, okay? More documents are unlikely to be filed in the court. We think that this is all said and done now, at least, according to some people who have, more experience in courts, i.e. lawyers. Shaman Lab down here saying, finally some goody-goody feelings from reading one of your sobering and appreciated tweets, Mark. I believe you should change your profile shot to a big X on that skull instead of a star if Taurus tells the SEC to walk the plank. And Julian Williams down here saying, means that they are relevant to her coming ruling, which I guess means she is using them as evidence for her decision. So the Hinman documents, that's going to be a big one. And yeah, unsealing it is for a reason. We need to have this information public. And why would it need to be public unless the judge is deciding that they are going to need to use it for their final decision? So another very important point here. I guess that means she is going to rule on more than just secondary market sales and will be going to the heart of the matter about what a crypto security looks like. So a very astute point here from Julian Williams. Kind of getting, trying to tap into the brain of Judge Torres and to, see where she's going to be going with this. Mikkel here on Twitter saying, the SEC gets one last chance to settle. I have a feeling her ruling is already done and ready. So this was the other thing that, some people were thinking. Judge Torres has already made her ruling, and this is why she's now deciding to allow, in this case, the Hinman documents to be revealed. Shaman Lab here agreeing, that's what my non-lawyer gut says as well. B.E says, Mikkel, I'm thinking the same thing. Norman Peterson says, I would think this Friday or Monday. Okay, put in a date on it. I'm hoping we get it sooner rather than later. Impending, says Raf. I'm going to go out on a limb and say EOD end of day Friday or end of day or EOM, which is end of May. We get her decision on the summary judgment. So end of day Friday, which would bring us to the 19th, or the end of May. I don't know why he would choose those particular dates. They won't settle, says Quintoshi Nakamoto. All set and done, says PRX Vamos. Dingo 8 My XRP says, agree. It seems like she's dripping out the rulings to put pressure on the parties to settle. I can't imagine there's any glory in setting a new precedent that impacts an entire asset class and earns you ire from half of America, which might get overturned anyway. That's also a very, very good point. She probably doesn't want to have all this pressure put on her to basically decide, okay, this is how cryptocurrencies are going to be ruled from here on out in the United States of America. That's a lot of pressure for one judge. So she's probably, letting it out in drips and drabs. That's a very good point. Oz down here saying, maybe she's doing the SEC a favor and looking out for them. Two birds, one stone, i.e. her ruling wouldn't be favorable and would set precedent. Here she gives a little to push them towards settlement without setting precedent so they can still go after others. Many different angles to take from this. Of course, if the SEC does settle with Ripple, that would be, a settlement is a settlement. Whatever it ends up being is what it ends up being. But at least it would mean the SEC can go off and, tackle other lawsuits and go after other coins. Not that we necessarily want that for the entire crypto space. But, as XRP hodlers, I would definitely give XRP a head start in the game. Jeremy Hogan here, guys, also bringing his opinion to this. Did anyone else reading the SEC versus Ripple order on sealing today think that the language reads as though, at least in large part, the order on summary judgment has already been drafted? So, similar to what, who was saying it here? Someone else was saying that here as well. Basically stating the same. And we know Jeremy Hogan, a lawyer in the XRP community. So he's, looking at some of these details and looking for clues here. Here he highlights this, okay, which is minimally relevant to the court's decision on the summary judgment motions. So minimizing a lot of what has been said here, making it sound as though a judgment or at least part of an order on summary judgment has already been made. Down here he writes, because the contents of the settlement agreements have minimal relevance to the summary judgment motion. So also just bringing that up. Ashley Prosper saying, I agree. I think she went through the evidence, wrote her summary judgment, and then looked at what Ripple and the SEC wanted sealed and compared it to what she had already used in the summary judgment ruling. Anything in the ruling got unsealed. So Jeremy Hogan saying, yes, I am not alone. So interesting points here that, some of the lawyers this is why it's so great when, everybody comes together and they're brainstorming, because it just makes for a better environment to speculate, really, because that's really what we're doing right now. We're speculating based on everybody's best guess. We're trying to come to conclusions on how this could play out. And, and we've got all kinds of walks of life here, right? Jeremy Hogan and the lawyers are just one part of this. Fred Rispoli, another lawyer in the XRP community, giving his very hot take here. And so here's what he says. The SJ ruling is obviously written. So he's saying, there's no question about it. It is obviously written, maybe completely finished. Maybe some final touches are left. Been saying any day now for a while, but it's really any day now. So he's saying, we've been saying that we're going to get a verdict at any point now, but really now it is any day. Also, nothing amazingly unexpected in this ruling except for Hinman email decision. Although this is good and bad news, in my opinion. So here's what he's saying here. A complete Ripple win would have given Judge Torres an out to not order production. Same goes for the SEC. Doesn't automatically mean neither can win outright, but as I've predicted, still think these are both low probabilities. Could compel the SEC to settle, yes, but I think the cat is out of the bag on these docs, and eventually some enforcement case would have gotten them publicly disclosed, if not here in Ripple. But the tone of this ruling is pro-Ripple, so let's hope that carries into the summary judgment ruling. So at the end of the day, he's saying, pro-Ripple. It does sound very pro-Ripple the way that, the judges worded this. XRP Rob, or Rob XRP saying, as always, thank you for your thoughts. Jeremy Hogan saying, great minds think alike. And then, of course, there's us. So Jeremy Hogan making a bit of a joke here. Lex, whoops. Let's go back there. Lex, ex-writer here saying, Fred Riz, excellent take. I agree that with this news and current time frame, we are dangerously close to Judge Torres' ruling regarding the motion for summary judgment. However, I'm not convinced that Ripple has a clear victory ahead. I think it's highly probable we will see some form of slap on the wrist, despite all, what does he say here? Despite all. Okay. So yeah, I mean, even if Ripple does get fined, does that really affect XRP hodlers? Absolutely not. The FOMO is still going to kick in. I mean, once we do get that verdict, this will go up and up and up. I mean, this FOMO 10% was just based on the fact that we are going to see the Hinman documents. We don't even have them in front of us, nor do we even have a final verdict. So you can only imagine where, price could go next. Going back to this Bill Morgan thread, also wanted to mention something else that Mark Fagel talked about here. It certainly seems unlikely the court would be making more documents available if planning to grant the SEC's motion. Okay, yeah, so I mentioned that earlier. Those docs are going to be very bad for the SEC, says King Blue. And Mark responds here, presumably, I think it's a question of whether they're truly bad, i.e. evidence of bad faith, which may here assume or just embarrassingly legal problematic, i.e. a change in policy or internal confusion, which seems more likely. We know from the beginning that the SEC's case has not really been sound. It has not ever really been on sound footing. Tipsy Tiger saying, I'll just leave my April 30th, 2022 tweet right here. The SEC internal divisions in their own departmental legals couldn't agree, hence all the drafts. Sounds like a right mess, certainly not one from an agency that can give clarity to a market. Okay, a lot of information here, guys, a lot of opinions coming out, although overwhelmingly positive. Eleanor Turret also breaking this news, and she's asking what's next. According to my legal sources, immediate next steps will be both parties sitting down and sorting out the logistics of how and when the documents will be released. And we did get that comment too from Brad Garlinghouse up here saying, the lawyers are basically, trying to figure this out. Will the SEC try and file an interlocutory appeal to the decision? Probably. But it would be a long shot for Torres to grant such a motion, as this is a discovery issue. It's also extremely unlikely that she would ever grant a stay of her order saying the documents must become public, even if the SEC did try to appeal. So now, some more waiting, and A-Money Crypto Not Here saying, yeah, some more waiting. That's the story of this whole ordeal. Those emails have been ordered to be produced many times. There should be no more recourse for the SEC. And I gotta say, the timing is very, very coincidental. Elon Musk has also decided to unveil Twitter's plans for a better financial system. He originally, introduced this back in November, I believe it was November of 2022. In an effort to improve the misgivings of the existing traditional financial platform, Elon Musk is planning to introduce a more efficient financial system by converting Twitter into an everything app. So we heard news about this. Here they're asking, what does it mean for Doge? But guys, based on the evidence that we've found connecting Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, the PayPal founders, to some older companies, one that was connected to Chris Larson in the past, those wallets too, that purportedly hold upwards of 17 million XRP. It could be that we're in for something really, really big. I'll link that video up here if you guys didn't catch it. And this, XR Beans here, 2023 will bring to light the truth. A quote from Bearable Guy on Christmas Eve 2022. Here's wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. I think it's coming, guys. We're very, very close to getting a verdict. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.